Hey there, fam. How's it going? And welcome to an episode of the Monday Motivation. How y'all doing? It is almost Christmas time. The holidays are upon us. It's almost New Year's. It's a lot of things happening all at once. We're in the month of December. It's pretty awesome, right? I'm excited for the way this year is going to go and end, and that we're just going to kick off the next year, 2024, with just high stepping into victory. Yeah. So the message for today, the motivation, I got it from a friend of mine that sent me this link. So there's this girl that she brings a phenomenal word. She brings a phenomenal word, and it's in Spanish, but she also speaks English. So she has a little bit of a hybrid, page. I'll put it down here so you guys can see it. It's a phenomenal page. It's really, really good. And God is definitely using her in many, many different ways. And the topic she hit on, which is what I'm based today on, was about storms, right? And how the different storms in our lives could mean different things. Let me explain. So she hit on two topics. I'm going to elaborate a little more on it. Talked about Jonah, right? How Jonah, God told him to go somewhere and he ran away. He went the exact opposite way where God told him to go. So what happened? God went, he sent a storm. So if you can go in the book of Jonah and it's, go from chapter 1 to 15, and you can read all about it. And I'm gonna just give you a little synopsis about it. Show on the boat, right? And there's a bunch of different people on it. And there's the storm starts happening all at once, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's getting pretty bad. So you start throwing stuff off board. Maybe they're like, oh, maybe it's something we did. So you're just throwing it off, right? So the ship can get a little lighter, right? So the part that was interesting was Jonah was down beneath. He was taking a nap. So the captain comes up. He's like, yo, how are you able to nap? Like, what's happening right now? And there's a lot of different people on board. So they're like, start praying to your God. So like, listen, like the God I serve, he created the heavens and the earth. He created the earth and the sea. So, it might be my fault. Like, what do you mean it's your fault? Well, start praying. So he started praying, the other people, and nothing's happening. So like, listen, you need to throw me off the boat. And the captain's like, I'm not going to do that. Like, you want to commit suicide? You want to go and do that? Like, that's just dumb. That's silly. What are you going to do that for? He's like, just trust me. So they didn't listen to him. They kept on throwing more stuff, off the boat. And got to a point that Jonah was like, I told you guys, it's me. So they're like, all right. So he tossed them up. And the moment that he tossed them overboard is when the ocean, it calmed down. The seas, got super calm. And then obviously we know the story, a big whale went, and swallowed him up. That showed that even though, right, we're in our sin, we're doing what God tells us not to do, God still has mercy and love upon us. That he sent a whale to protect him, right? So the part that was interesting was because of Jonah is why the storm came, right? Those people had no idea what was happening, right? Till Jonah showed up on the boat. So because of Jonah, what's around him got changed, but in a negative direction, in a negative way. But obviously we know that, Jonah went, he prayed, and he's like, Lord, forgive me if you can get me out of this. I'm going to go and preach the word. The whale, spit him out. The big fish is what the Bible says, but we assume it's a whale. Spit him out. And he went, he preached the gospel. Everything's great, right? So that is the example of what not to do. Still God's mercy and grace, but that's the example of what not to do. Now we have Paul. Paul was doing work. You obviously know this is the same Paul that was Saul. He was persecuting the Christians. And now he's going in flip script and he's bringing people to God. And just as hard as he's going, against Jesus, now he's going for it. And he's on a boat, right? He's supposed to go to trial. So the story starts off in Acts 27, right? Where he's going to get shipped off. They're going over there. They're making a trip. And Paul tells them, hey, listen, don't go this way. God showed me not to go this way. Just listen to me. They're like, no, what do you know about this? It's, we've been doing this for a lot longer than you have. Paul's like, all right, I'm telling you, like God told me. So keep on going. And in that, the boat, gets wrecked. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? Like, this is so bad. And then Paul's like, listen, I told you guys to like not go this way, but I have good news. I was told by God, by an angel, that the boat will get destroyed, but not one life will be lost. They're like, okay, like, but what do I have to do? And they're like, just trust me. So the boat woes and, it gets into this massive wreck. There's pieces flying everywhere, but no one on board, was lost. So they're floating, they're in the water for a while. They're just trying to figure out where there's land. So then we go to hop over to 28 and we're finally on dry land, right? So people kind of like iffy with Paul. They're like, I don't know, this guy's kind of weird. And they're kind of like pushing him on the outs, but they're, put some wood together to start a fire. Paul reaches his hand out to get some wood to throw into the fire. And in that, a viper goes and it strikes his hand. It's clinging on. So don't think about this, right? I don't know about you guys. Like, I'm not afraid of like reptiles or like snakes, but if I have a snake hanging from my hand and I'm looking at it and it's not letting go, I'm going to assume it's poisonous, right? Again, I'm not, a biologist or, an expert in snakes and reptiles, but if something's hanging from my hand like that, I'm going to assume it's poisonous. And, in the minimal of it, the best case scenario, it just hurts, right? And there's no poison, but best case scenario, it just hurts. Still, I don't want to get that, right? And think about this. He was just in a storm. He just survived a shipwreck only to get bitten by a snake. That's exactly what the people on board said. They're like, wow, like you must be a murderer. You must be someone really bad, because if we just went through a storm and now you're getting bitten by a snake, and these are people that didn't follow God, right? Because they said in the Bible, actually, we'll read it right now. It is actually Acts 28, 4-5, right? Ready? Acts 28, 4-5. And it says, right, let me catch it myself. When the islanders saw the snake hanging from his hand, they said to each other, this man must be a murderer. Though he escaped from the sea, the gods of justice has not allowed him to live. I think you see that they weren't Christians. They didn't believe in God. And then it says, but Paul shook the snake off into the fire and suffered no illness. We'll go a little further. In verse 6, the people expected him to faint, or his hand to swell up and fall dead. But after waiting a long time and seeing nothing unusual happen to him, they changed their minds and said he was a god, right? So they assumed that Paul was this like extraterrestrial, being, that he must be a god himself. And he's like, no, man, I told you, the God I serve is a real God. He's protecting me from this. And the main point that was interesting in this, which is what the girl, on the page where I'm referencing this from, is Paul didn't go through a storm only to die by a snake. I'll put that right there. Paul didn't go through a storm to die by a snake. And as I saw that video, as she was explaining it, I then took a deep dive myself and I started thinking about it. And how many times have you gone through some, certain things? You've gone through just a whirlwind, a mountain of an event. You faced a Goliath, right? And you're going to tell me that because something negative was said about you, because you had a negative thought, that's what's going to take you out? You survived a storm, obviously with God, but you survived a storm. You survived all this chaos. You survived all these things that people said you weren't going to survive. And you honestly think a negative thought, something that someone says, something that, that they might try to like go and throw venom, at you, a snake. You really think that that's the thing that's going to take you out? Nah. God has bigger plans for you. God has massive plans for you. And those plans are to prosper, are to win, are just to be heads and not tails. But when we allow ourselves to get infected by people's words, infected by maybe even our own thoughts, because the enemy wants to go and throw darts at us and be like, oh, you know what? Like this thing you've come so far. You know what? It's already been 2 years. It's already been 3 years. It's already been however long, and you still haven't gotten there. You've done it for 4 years. God has protected you. He's guided you. He's just nourished you. He's just taking care of you at all aspects of things for, let's say, 4 years, and you're about to hit the 5th year. You honestly think that if he's protected you through all that whole time, he's not going to protect you for the upcoming months? Maybe you've been praying and you've been striving for something and you've been working super hard for something and you feel like you're just right at the end of it. Cool. You know what, God? I got out of the big problem that I thought was just coming my way and that was going to swallow me up. It was destroying me. I'm seeing land. I'm seeing a little bit of progress. You honestly think that because someone doubted you, Someone doesn't believe in your dream as strong as you do. Someone says that you're not going to make it. Someone's words, fam, you went through a storm and came out on the other side unscathed. Or maybe you came back with a couple of scars, battle wounds. That's good. That means you've been on a fight, but you've gone through it, right? God has protected you in the midst of the storm. God has held you in the midst of all these situations. Don't allow yourself to fall victim, to fall short of what God really has for you. Yeah. Like to think about that, all the effort that you've put in, it can't be for nothing. God has a purpose for you. He has a calling for you. So you can't allow the enemy to tell you otherwise. You can't let other people tell you otherwise. You can't let your own thoughts get in the way of that and be like, oh, you know what? Like, you know what? Maybe they are right. They're not. Let me tell you that, fun fact. They're not. What God says about you is the only truth that matters, is the only thing that matters, because his word is the truth, right? There might be facts, right? That things are hard, that things are going your way, that, you've been struggling through some things. That might be factual, but the truth is that God has liberated you from all those things, that you already have the victory. You're already a king. You're already a queen. You're already a son and daughter of the living God. That means you have the victory. That means you come up on top. That means no matter how bad the storm, no matter how many times the enemy tries to go and take snake bites at you, you're going to be able to hold your hand in the air and just throw into the fire. That fire consumes all things. That's what we need to focus on. Yeah? Like, I hope this was something that was very, very beneficial to you guys, something that we just went into your spirit, because when I first saw the video, I was like, okay, God, this is awesome. I got pumped up. And then I started doing some research. I started really, sitting down and studying and, really meditating on the word. And he just got me more amped up to think that how many times do we allow something so minimal, right, to knock us off course? We've already been through these massive wars, right? You're gonna let this little skirmish, you're gonna let this little, roadblock, you're gonna let this little ant pile of an obstacle stop you? I don't think so. Like, I know you, I know the family, you guys are strong in this, you guys are strong in the word, but let's say, you might be feeling a little hard, you might be feeling it, right? You're tired, it's been a long year, it's been a rough year for some people maybe, right? But we only have a few weeks left. Don't let this last itty bitty thing that's getting in your way stop you from fulfilling ending this year off on a high note with the win. You might be thinking, Rod, I'm tired though, bro. Like, I'm getting after it. I'm tired. And I'm hitting at all cylinders, and then something else is happening. And I feel like I have nothing left. Well, it's a good thing that God's sustaining you through all that, right? It's a good thing that no matter what, he's going to protect you. It doesn't matter what happens. He's going to guide you. He's going to lead you to the victory. Yeah. I love you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you miss any of these talks. Stay safe. Keep getting after it. Stay hungry. Year's almost up. Let's end it on top. Yeah. Stay safe. Make it the best day ever.